Hello everyone, my name is Colin Bonini, and I am the governor from the great state of Kansas, the Democratic governor, actually, and I'm also your host of Power Live. Today we will explore the ins and outs of the power world, from financial takeovers to political corruption. Power Live will show you the true power of information. Alright everybody, today we have quite a special episode for you guys. As you all may have heard, I have recently defected from the GOP to the Democratic Party, or more specifically, the Democratic Party that is allied with the NUP. And there is many reasons for me doing what I did, and today I am going to share with all of you that are watching and all of you that will watch after this video is posted exactly what happened and why I did what I did. So that brings me to the beginning of this entire story, which starts with Heydrich, former chairman of the GOP, has always been revered by the GOP for being a very good leader, a very strong leader. Maybe not perhaps the most fair leader, but he has always been there through thick and thin. And the GOP leadership, current leadership and leaderships in the past, have all revered him for the same thing. But this story does start and end with Heydrich, so let's start right here. So the thing that started the entire quote GOP civil war that happened over the past couple days was when Heydrich asked that GOP leadership prioritize one of his many races in Hawaii, and that was the race of Marlboro Man in Senate 2. This is just a quick screenshot that we have here that does show Heydrich, who's actually using another one of his accounts, which is Conrad, to give this information out. He's saying to everyone, Hawaii, Senate 2 priority. And hold on, I'm going to switch screens over real quick over here so I can show you real quick the map. Here is Hawaii down here. The S2 election was just won by Dylan of the Democratic Party. However, Dylan had just finished a race, not against Heydrich, not against Conrad Piper, but this account here, Marlboro Man, which is one of Heydrich's alts. And if, everyone thinks that Heydrich alts, not a lot of people have a lot of proof to show it. Actually, let me pull up one more piece of proof about him alting. I was in the GOP leadership for a long time, and Heydrich trusted me enough, along with the rest of leadership, to reveal to us that he did alt. So I have a quick screen cap here of a DM between myself and Heydrich. Here, this is Heydrich right here. This is after his previous alt, Kanye Omari West, who was found out to be Heydrich's alt, was deleted in Hawaii. He said, and then he also made Conrad Piper. Conrad Piper then got deleted, but then Heydrich sent me this. He said, Rumsad deleted me. I said, I thought so. Heydrich said, I convinced him that it wasn't me. And I convinced him via PM that Conrad Piper was not Heydrich. So Rumsad apologized and gave me all my capital back. From now, though, we never mention it. Conrad Piper, Lidl CEO. Never again delete the messages. Well, I deleted my side of the messages because back then I trusted Heydrich, but looks like Heydrich wasn't so smart to delete them himself, as the proof is actually all right here on the screen. So yes, Heydrich has had alts. He had Conrad Piper. Kanye Omari West was one of his alts that infiltrated the Democratic Party. Marlboro Man, as you guys see on the screen right here, is another one of his alts that hopefully will be deleted very shortly in the future. And also, he also has alts in a lot of foreign countries as well. We'll get to that in a quick second. However, like I showed you guys here, Heydrich was prioritizing his alts race, Marlboro Man in Senate 1. He told GOP leadership that Marlboro Man was to win by any means necessary at the expense of the more winnable races of the party, Heydrich's alt, Marlboro Man, had to win Senate 2. His election, however, was not very easy to win. The positions weren't right for Marlboro Man. He didn't have a lot of power saved up, and the guy he was going against had a PSO advantage and also had over 50 power stored up when the race started, whereas Marlboro Man had 0. Still, Heydrich claimed the GOP leadership had to win this race, and if they didn't win this race for him, there would be consequences. And I am here to tell you that, unfortunately, Marlboro Man did not win his race. And him not winning his race is quite possibly the sole event that started this entire chain of events that I'm about to explain to you right now. So like I said, Heydrich wanted his alt to win, Marlboro Man. He did not win Hawaii S2 because the race was just too far gone. After Marlboro Man lost, Heydrich then started to belittle the party leadership, starting with Edric Newhoff, who had been the one who was calling AAs for the GOP that day. He claimed that Ed didn't put enough effort into it, that he didn't do a good job, and he pretty much degraded him in front of all of leadership. And he actually assigned Ed to recruitment duty, which you could also say is the equivalency of toilet duty for his punishment. He said, Ed, you didn't do what I asked you to. You didn't live up to my expectations. You are going to be on recruitment duty. I want 2 threads a day up for the next 2 weeks, and that's your punishment pretty much for doing it. Don Pablo, a member of GOP leadership, then comes to Edric's defense and says, Heydrich, this race was not easy to be won. I think you're asking a little too much of Ed to win this race for you. Heydrich then switches his priority to Pablo and starts to belittle Pablo and give him the same punishment that he gave to Edric Newhoff. Then the rest of leadership of the GOP then were finally, they had seen enough of it. They came to Ed and Pablo's defense. They said, Heydrich, I cannot believe that you would come after them for trying their best to do what you asked them to. You have no right to come after them like this. So this happens, and then everyone kind of calms down a little bit. Heydrich then tries to save face by sending out an announcement in the GOP chat saying that everyone should be working on recruitment, not just Ed and Pablo, but that was only after senior leadership came to defend Pablo and Ed themselves. Then everything had calmed down, or so we thought. As soon as that happened, a group DM was then made. This group DM, as I'm going to pull up for you guys in one quick second, this group DM here that we have on the screen was created by Don Pablo. And Don Pablo said that he made this DM with everyone who knows who Heydrich's alts are. Heydrich, as you guys see, I'm going to scroll down a little bit first before we get into it. Don Pablo says, let me state for the record, this chat was made with the people who know who you are by your own admission, them being Edric Newhoff, Alex Jones, Paul Pott, Adrian, Ivan John Smith, Trajan Nim, and Integra. And here we go, we have one of Heydrich's all saying, yes, these people all know who they are. So this is who the DM was made with. We have here, I'm going to read it to you because this is probably the basis of the entire thing. Don Pablo says, so I'll say what I need to. No one needs to agree with me here, but let it be known I'm not the only one who feels this way. Pablo says, number 1, at Heydrich, you're subtly threatening to dox shit isn't flying with me anymore. Number 2, at Heydrich, publicly ridiculing not only myself, but Edric Newhoff and Alex Jones to a degree that was unacceptable and uncalled for. Number 3, at Heydrich, with the shown impulsivity of removing admin and fucking with perms, it's clear that we need someone less impulsive with server owner. I think this at right here is Adrian. I think at Adrian, just as Trajan, fits the bill as someone who is impartial. And then this is the big one, folks. Number 4, everyone in senior leadership has gone through great lengths to hide you / Conrad, Piper / Marlboro Man / whoever else, all of your alts. And for the perceived lack of loyalty and trust, I'm quite honestly fucking done with it. In what fucking world do you think it's okay to remove our perms when we've placed our accounts, the party, and our names on the line just to appease your need to play the game? Don Pablo continues and says, I'm not even mad at what you said to me, to be honest, but I find it beyond appalling what you've done / said to BC, Ed, and Alex. Don Pablo then says, I've done everything I can to keep you playing, so has everyone else. So kick me, ban me, dox me, I don't even care at this point, but it's clear you've lost sight of the only thing this party is ran on, which is you were supposed to put the party above everything else. This came to a shock of all of leadership as they were all added to this chat here. And the only reason I'm seeing this, I had known who Conrad was, but I was added into this DM a little bit later. And this right here just set everything into motion. Okay? And what happened is everyone throughout this entire thing, like I said, this DM is going to be released. Actually, let me stop right there. I'm actually going to release this DM right now. If all of you guys want to go to the Power Live Announcements channel, just give me one quick moment. The entirety of this DM has just been posted in the Power Live Announcements channel. You guys can look at that for yourself. If you guys do need to view this, make sure you guys go to the Discord viewer, which is located online. If you guys don't have a link to that, I'm sure that someone can get you that link. But like I said, we're going to be moving on here. So everyone kind of came together and was like, yeah, Haedric, he really needs to be dealt with. He's not doing what he should. But Haedric was silent for the entire, I would say, 15-20 minutes that this thing first came out. The only person that was defending Haedric was actually Integra. As you can see here, Integra was the only person who actually defended it. You guys can look in the DM I just sent you. Integra was the only person who was defending Haedric and him keeping server ownership. However, let me see. Okay, however, Integra's opinion was soon switched. As soon as because she found out that apparently Haedric had threatened to dox Don Pablo. Integra saw this as just crazy to hear, and she said to Don Pablo, show me please, show me the proof. Don Pablo sends her a screenshot and a DM of Haedric threatening to dox him, and Integra finally relents and says, okay, I agree, no more of this. It's been one thing for us to just turn our heads and go, oh, you, when Haedric does it to outsiders, but no, not amongst ourselves. At this point in time, the entirety of GOP leadership that was in this chat was officially against Haedric and wanted him to be removed from server owner. And as soon as the entirety of the party is against Haedric, look who pops up. Conrad, one of Haedric's alts, one of his Discord alts, just pops up. Haedric was appalled at what he had seen. He claimed that leadership had betrayed him. He refused to give up server ownership, saying here, server ownership will not be changing. He continued to refuse the demands, and even as you get along here farther, he even came up with a more of a sob story. Here, let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh, it says here, Haedric says, if I lose ownership, I've lost it all. I'm not chair, I'm not president, I'm not allowed to play. Pablo then reveals that he still has Conrad, still has access to all of his channels, still has leadership, still has Lido. How would you have lost it all? That's for Haedric to decide, but like I said, Haedric claimed that if he had to give up server ownership, he would have given up everything. Again, finally, Haedric calms down a little bit. This is a little bit later, and we see this right here. Haedric responds with the following, which is Haedric's terms to the party. Haedric says, here are my terms. I will give Adrian and Adrian alone ownership of the server. Haedric will retain his title of Eternal Party Leader. Conrad will retain all of his positions and isn't snubbed in the future from any presidential runs or whatever in the next iterations. And he also, this one here is more of a meme role, more of a meme demand, you guys can see that. But this one here, he doesn't want to be excluded from rooms or anything like that. Don Pablo immediately responds, done, I agree with your demands. Integra is the first person, and the only person to say no. However, After being assured by other members of the party that Hadrick wouldn't still have access to any admin perms or anything like that, Integra finally relents. Hadrick then gives ownership of the server to Adrian. Adrian is now the server owner of the GOP. Adrian, within 30 minutes of being server owner, Adrian then gives ownership to Trajan. Which the reason for this being is that due to the agreement that is listed right here, Adrian is bound by this agreement he's bound by the agreement to keep Hadrick in his positions. Adrian sees this as an opportunity to give server owner over to someone else, to someone that wasn't involved in the deal, to Trajan Nim. Trajan Nim then takes it upon himself to ban Hadrick from the server for doxing. Not only threatening to dox Don Pablo, but doxing of people in the past, whether that be Higgins, whether that be Jeb Bush, even though that was Hadrick's orders, but Ivan John Smith was acting in that respect, whether that be Oates. Trajan had had enough of it and said, this is not the party that I am a part of, this is not the party that I am going to run, and he told Hadrick to get out of the party and banned him. Leadership then turned on Trajan and said, Trajan, you had no right to ban Hadrick. He was agreeing to all terms of the deal, you know, that sort of thing. You had no right. Hadrick then comes into the chat. Hold on, let me just find it one time. Hadrick comes in the chat and says this. This is right after he gets banned. Hadrick says, "Lamau couldn't even keep to a deal for 2 minutes. You're real good pals." Hadrick then starts to argue with leadership because Hadrick believes that leadership had conspired against him from the very start, and in order to get back against those who betrayed him, Hadrick then goes and targets people in leadership. The first person that he targeted to get back at them for, quote, conspiring against him was Integra. Now, I'm going to turn the music off for a second because this is actually very serious, what I'm about to say. So, Hadrick then used his impulsivity and his rage of being ousted from the party by a singular person, Trajan, who was acting not as a massive conspiracy, but as himself, because his morals were above letting someone who does such horrible things to remain in charge in the party. And also, Trajan didn't want someone who had threatened to oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Trajan got rid of Hadrick because Trajan believed that Hadrick didn't hold the same values that the GOP held. Hadrick tries to get back at the people, starting with Integra. The GOP have painted Integra as the aggressor, as someone who has conspired against them. But from what I have seen being in senior leadership, I say this is not true. Trajan banned him of his own accord by himself. Integra was, I guess, in Hadrick's mind, guilty by association, and Hadrick then takes it upon himself to harm Integra in a way that I personally believe makes me sick. And for all of you that have access to this DM, you can see what I'm talking about here. But in order to get back at Integra, Hadrick believes that it is right for him to target her personally, and he then, to the entirety of the group DM, he outed Integra as a transgender. Let that sink in for a second. Power is a game created by Oppressive Games, by Rumsod, but above all, it's a game. It's not something that's going to, ruin your entire life. But it will ruin your entire life because Hadrick plays that game. Power isn't something that you know, in 100, 200 years from now, people are going to look back and say, oh my god, this was the most important thing ever. It's a game. And the fact that someone would be so just, I don't know, it sickens me. To take something from someone's personal life and bring it into the game in order to try and shame them, to try and make them feel bad about themselves, that just, I just can't believe it. And I don't see how anyone, including GOP leadership, can support that. Anyway, after he outed Integra in the group DM, he then proceeds to DM as many people as he can, revealing Integra's name and that she is a transgender. He sent this DM to people like Luna Lovegood. He sent this DM to people who are in the GOP. He sent this DM to people that are in other countries. He was just trying to send it out to as many people as he could because he believed that he was right in ruining someone's life. Now, this settles in, and Heydrich thinks that he's doing a great deal of good. He's doing what he needs to do by any means necessary to get back at the people that harmed him. And he then comes to the GOP and he tries to force the GOP to let Heydrich back into the party. He did this by using some of his alts that were in different countries like India and France, and his friends that are in China, people that he has a good relationship with, and tried to get the GOP to let him back in by threatening them with global war. Global war would harm the United States. So the GOP, namely Don Pablo, then reaches out to Heydrich with a list of demands to try and get Heydrich to come back to the GOP. Real quick, I'm going to pull up this image of the demands that Don Pablo sent to Heydrich. Just give me one quick moment. That's the real question. The one screenshot that I hadn't saved is the one I'm missing. Okay, here it is. I'm sorry about that. This is the screenshot. This is the message that Don Pablo sent to Heydrich. He said that Heydrich needs to apologize to Integra, Ed, and Alex. He needs to seek help IRL for his drug problem, which you can see referenced in the DM that I just shared. He needs to stop the manipulation via personal info, whether that be doxing or alluding to doxing or anything like that. And if he does join back, he will get his roles stripped. He will no longer be in an administration role. He would be founding father, senior officer as his highest roles, and the ability to get senior leadership and eternal leader of the party upon verifying that he sought help. Those are the demands that Pablo sent Heydrich. Heydrich laughs in his face and says that there's no way he's going to set these demands. The US and the GOP are going to suffer. This is when Pablo comes on Power Live. And Pablo shared that the GOP leadership was solidified behind an anti-Heydrich view because although Heydrich had done well in the past for the party, he was beyond help at this point, and he refused to give in what was right, and he was going to do what he wanted. Don Pablo then messages me after this and says, you know what? I think that the GOP leadership is finally solidified behind this ideal. A day goes by, and everything changes. Apparently, Heydrich was able to weasel his way back into the GOP through using a couple different tactics. That be having Pol Pot, Melp, Paul Kennedy, and Constantine starting to plant the idea that maybe Trajan and Integra had conspired privately to oust Heydrich from the party, and that's why they did what they did. This got back to the GOP leadership, And certain members of the GOP leadership, including Pott, who wanted Heydrich back, added Heydrich back into the party, and then Heydrich and the GOP leadership then banned Trajan and Integra. This happened. I messaged Don Pablo right after this happened, and I said, Don, you were so against Heydrich not being in the party. What changed your mind? And Don Pablo said to me, actually, I didn't change my mind. Heydrich is manipulative. He's delusional. He's so stuck in his ways that he's never going to change. And Pablo said, I'm done. And Pablo was going to quit had it not been for the imminent presidential election. But Pablo also revealed to me that Heydrich had came to him and threatened, but this is before they had let him back into the party, and said that Heydrich had threatened to commit suicide had he not been allowed back into the party. And Pablo said, I can't deal with that. I'm not going to deal with that. This is not what I came to power, to deal with people like this. So Pablo, like I said, was planning on quitting. Circumstances changed for one reason or another. But then that leads to me, Colin Benini, host of Power Live. This whole thing happened, and I couldn't stand by and let it happen anymore. I wasn't going to be a part of the leadership that supported and revered Heydrich and allowed him back into the party after what he did. In a way, they let him back into the party for what he did. Because the GOP go through the harshest means necessary. Whatever means are necessary to meet an end is what the GOP is going to do. And when I was on the inside, it was easy to turn a blind eye to it because I was in leadership. But there comes a point, I believe, where everyone has to draw the line. And when Heydrich went after Integra, a member of his party, someone who she thought was his friend, someone who she thought was her friend, and then he outs her like that to everyone, and to more people, as many people as he could, that's where I draw the line. Because as a person, that I just can't let that happen. And I must speak to the NUP and the Dems who are watching right now. I am now in the Democratic Party. My only goal is to bring down not the GOP, but to bring down a Heydrich-led GOP, to bring down a leadership that supports Heydrich and what he does, to a leadership that will allow Heydrich to continue to do what he does as long as it gets them ahead in an HTML browser-based political simulator. And I must speak to any members of the GOP that are watching right now. Heydrich is not beyond getting back at the own members of his party. Sure, me giving this broadcast right now, I'm taking a risk. I'm opening myself up to Heydrich and his people. But this has to come out. And for you that are still in the GOP, I would highly recommend, for your own safety, leave if you can. Quietly leave if you can. And for you that aren't in a position to do so, for one reason or another, look to leave the first chance you have. That's what Alex Jones did. Alex Jones, who recently, actually I think this morning, just got deleted for exploiting a glitch in the game, and his account got deleted. He's not returning to the US. I actually have a couple screens right here that show that he has no intention of coming back to the US, how he is actually going to Australia. Let me pull up these for you guys. So, it says it right here. Alex Jones, as soon as I'm deleted, I'm leaving the US. Probably going to go to Indonesia or something. I want to fuck up something with the military, too. There's the first little bit of it. The second little bit of this DM, let me pull that up as well. Alex Jones says, I may pull all the troops off of the border and let you destroy America. I'm tempted, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm counting on Rumsfeld deleting most of the GOP when it gets online next. So the next step is Australia. The only thought behind this is that Alex Jones saw a chance. He got deleted. And he was going to use that deletion as an opportunity to leave the U.S., to leave the corrupt GOP that he knew the longer he stayed in it, the worse off he was going to be, because what's to stop Heydrich from turning on him next if he doesn't win a race for his alt? If he doesn't do exactly what Heydrich says? If he doesn't do what Heydrich would have liked him to do, even though Heydrich hadn't told him what to do? So Alex found a way out. Edric Newhoff is no longer in the United States. He's asked Rumsad to delete his account. Edric has found a way out. I found a way out. In a way, Trajan and Integra were forced out, but in the end, are they better off to not be in that Heydrich ran leadership? As a final thing to say here, for everyone in the GOP that is watching this and feels the same way I do, how this cannot be let to go along, vote for Integra as in-game chair. If you vote for Integra, that will show what's left of leadership that Heydrich's toxicity isn't worth whatever he brings to the party, and that ousting him is for the party's long-term good, no matter what they would lose in the meantime. And if the rest of the GOP is watching right now and they see this, and after I release even more logs that I have to release, once you see that what is happening is not right, and you don't support what's happening, it's the people in the party that will be the ones to push for change. Because Heydrich will always be there. If he gets deleted, he makes another alt. If his alt gets deleted, he makes another one. If he gets ousted from power, he doxes a personal friend. He will always be there. What he gains through power is people dislike him, and he feeds off of that. Every time he does something wrong, people call him out for it, and that's the kind of person that Heydrich is. He enjoys that. He likes to be called out. But what you can do from within the party is Heydrich will always be there. The people that support Heydrich, maybe they'll change, but I don't think so. I think they'll always be there. But they don't need the rest of the party to feel the same way. Like I said, strictly from a safety perspective, if you don't want to get doxxed in the future, maybe you'll be safe, but maybe you won't. So I think you should get out when you still can. Or, like I said, vote for Integra as in-game chair. Even if Integra doesn't overtake Kaiser and become the in-game chair, it will still, for every single vote that Integra gets for chair, it will show leadership that that's one more person that doesn't support the crimes that Heydrich is committing. And like I said, I'm in the Dems. I have been working very closely to the NUP, and we're not going to stop until the Heydrich ran GOP is brought down. There's no reason that someone like Heydrich should be allowed to do what he does and get revered for it by him, by his party, by the leadership of his party. And like I said, if you believe that Heydrich is right in what he does, then maybe you need to look at yourself again, because Heydrich isn't good for power. He isn't good for anyone that plays power, and he definitely wasn't good for Integra. She opened herself up to him because she thought she could trust him, and she got burned for it. I'm going to do all my power to make sure that this does not happen again. There shouldn't be another Integra. There shouldn't be another Higgins. There shouldn't be another Jeb, another Oates. Anyone that doxed, it shouldn't happen. That's been doxed, it shouldn't happen again. Not because it's bad for power, but because it's bad for society, and it's bad for the people that are in society. It's bad for the world. And it should be taken out. It shouldn't even be a thought. But, like I said, this has been the truth. This has been the entirety of the truth. More logs will be released in the next couple days. But like I said, if you don't agree with Hadrick and what he's done, you're the first step in change. It starts with you, it ends with you. Don't let it end. Don't let it start and end with Hadrick. This concludes this episode of Power Live. We hope that you join us next time as we continue to expose the true power of information. And I just want everyone to have a great night. And to think, this truth that has been revealed, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let it continue to go on? Or are you going to do what you can to stop it so that it doesn't happen to someone else? That's been all from me, and I hope all of you guys have a wonderful night.